So we're back here with another video. As you can see, I am now joined by my lovely assistant Harper. She is either supervising or sleeping on the job. I can't decide which, but we're just going to move right on ahead anyways. So in our last few videos, we talked about strumming, whether we're using a pick or we're using our fingers, our thumb, our fingernails. In this next video, we're going to talk about using our fretting hand. And we can talk about fretting notes, placing our fingers, positive finger placement. There are different terms that we can use, but it's all going to be basically the same thing. So when we're playing a note on the guitar, we want to use our fingertips as much as possible. So remember in a previous video, I talked about the names of the strings E, A, D, G, B, E, using elephants and donkeys grow big ears. And so, for instance, this is the high E string, and if we wanted to play the 5th fret of the high E string, we would want to let's just use our index finger for now. There are a few different things going on here. So yes, I am just using my fingertip, but if we come around to this angle, you're going to see that my finger is kind of curled or curved around so that I'm not attacking the string like kind of from an angle. We want to come straight on. And the best way to do that is to curve our fingers around. And now what this lets us do, especially if we're playing chords and if we're playing on inner strings, we want to be able to fret a note and be able to play a note on the next string as well. If we have our fingers coming in kind of flat, what we can do, we might find that we can hit this note just fine, but then we get to the next string and it gets kind of clunky. And now the reason for that is our finger comes in flat, and I don't know if you can see it all that well, but what's going on here is my ring finger here that I'm using to play the 3rd fret of the A string is playing that note, but then it's just kind of resting on the D string, which is preventing me from being able to play it. So we solve that by curving our fingers around, curling our fingers around. And so this is a C chord that I'm playing. We'll get to more of that down the line. But I have 3 different fingers on the fretboard, and I can sound all the strings. Can do it with a number of different chords. But I can put my fingers, multiple fingers on different strings and be able to sound all of the strings when I'm playing. So that's the goal. And now curling our fingers around is one component. The other component is what we do with our thumb. For the most part, our thumb is going to be on the back of the guitar neck here, and its whole purpose is to help give support to your fingers. So on the front of the guitar like this, I have my fingers playing a chord, but I have my thumb coming back to help add pressure. What this does is it lets me have firmer placement with my fingers. Like if my thumb comes off, it's a whole lot harder to keep my fingers in place. So it gives me a firmer grip on the guitar, and it helps me keep the guitar in place. So now a lot of guitar students they'll let their thumb just kind of come up here, and then the guitar neck is just resting in like this little pocket between the thumb and the index finger. And in a way that kind of makes sense because it fits kind of nicely in that little pocket. But when you do that, you don't have as much as much force coming from the thumb. We have it here on kind of the heel of our palm, but when you have your thumb here, it allows you to be a lot more precise in how much pressure you're giving and where specifically you're putting that pressure. So that's a lot of it. The next thing we want to talk about is where on the fret we should be playing a note. So again, going back to this 5th fret of the high E string. So if you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, here's our 5th fret. My finger is there. It's almost right up here along this metal fret bar. My finger is basically touching it without being directly on top of it. And what that allows us to do is it puts a lot of pressure right behind the note, and it's where the string comes in contact with this fret bar is where the note is actually coming from. So the closer you can get to putting your pressure there, the more precise that pressure is going to be on the place where we want it to be playing from. That's a long-winded and a little bit more technical than we need to talk about, but in general, you want to be as close to the metal fret bar on the right of the fret that you're playing. If you're a right-handed guitar player like me, if you're a lefty, it would be in the other direction, but aiming toward the sound hole or the pickups if you're playing on an electric guitar. And the reason we do that, if we go too far back on the fret, like you can add enough pressure that you can get a note to sound out of it, but you don't have to push as hard if you're in the right part of the fret. And if you're not pushing hard enough, you can get kind of dull, clunky notes. You hear the difference there? So that's what we're aiming for, is we want to get a nice, clean sounding note every time we're playing a note on the guitar. And so an exercise that I like to do to get my fingers warmed up and to just get used to playing different notes is, this is called the spider walk. And the way we do the spider walk is I'm going to be using all 4 of these fingers, index, middle, ring, and pinky. And each of these fingers is going to have a fret to itself. So if we're starting on the 5th fret, index finger on the 5th fret, middle on the 6th, ring on the 7th, and pinky on the 8th. So we're going to go through and we're going to do 5, 6, 7, 8 on each of the strings. So starting again from the low E string, 5, 6, 7, 8, D string 5, 6, 7, 8, G 6, 7, 8, B string 5, 6, 7, 8 to the high E string 5, 6, 7, 8. And now we can do the same thing going in reverse. And we can keep with that 5, 6, 7, 8 pattern. And again, what that is helping you do, it's helping get your fingers warmed up, gets the blood flowing, loosens up the muscles. It also helps to build your muscles. Now, this isn't the most musical sounding exercise in the world, but it's generally easy enough that most players can start playing it pretty quickly, and it just gets you used to using all 4 of your fingers. So again, some key points. You want to curve your fingers around. You want pressure from your thumb on the back of the neck. You want your fingers as close to the metal fret bar as you can without being right on top of it. And that's about it. So we'll get into a lot more detail on all of this as we keep working together. But for now, those are the basics of how you place your fingers on the fretboard of the guitar. We'll see you in the next video.